Greetings everybody, coming to you from my 2018 BMW 540d. This is a US model. It is a super rare car in the US. BMW only sold 298 of these before pulling the plug on it. So it's one of the more rare cars out there, if I'm not mistaken, it's actually way more rare than like a Ford GT, for example, which, to come to think of it, is kind of wild. I get that numerical figure from the recall for the EGR cooler. That's where it says number of units affected, and that's where I got that number, because there's a lot of speculation otherwise about that. Let's do a quick acceleration run. Nobody coming. It does not take very long for this car to hit 60. I have a race box which I've used in the past to clock the 0 to 60 time, and if I remember correctly, it was like 5.64, something along those lines. And that's just basically stopping and punching it. I never do any launches or anything like that. Let's see, I want to go back the way that I came, I think. No, we'll go down this road here. Look both ways. Somebody's coming, so we will let them go. This car has the auto hold on, so that basically when I come to a stop and hit the brakes, it will hold the car still for me indefinitely. It's not like a hill start assist or anything like that, so it works pretty good. Alright, so as for my update with this car, I've owned it, let's say, a little over 2 years actually, so I think we could call this my 2-year owner update. I do have the sunroof open. Hopefully it's not too noisy. But yeah, I've done a few videos on this car talking about the history and things that needed to be replaced and so forth. So check those out for like the my original history with it. But I wanted to just give kind of an update as to where it is now. So I've become a bit of a car hoarder lately. I got some extra storage, and so I tend to be accumulating some cars. I'm gonna need to probably do something about that. I have an idea for what car is going to go away, but it will probably be replaced. I'm definitely a car addict. Some YouTubers have it a lot worse than I do, and I think if I had unlimited space and unlimited resources, I would probably have 50 cars right now. Of all the cars that I currently own, this is the one I've owned the longest. My plan is to keep this one indefinitely, even if I don't drive it every day. I keep it in the garage, and when I'm not driving it, I keep it on a battery tender. One thing that's kind of amazing about this car is I do believe it's on the original battery. I bought the car from a Porsche dealer in Texas and had it shipped up here. The underside of it is just like brand new. It's never been driven in like the snow. I have accidentally driven it through a little bit of dry salt, but I always clean it off thoroughly underneath whenever that happens. So it still looks amazing underneath. Yeah, this car, I had a lot of, I bought it with 6 months of warranty left on it. Maybe it was 8 months. And right toward the end of the warranty, I had a lot of work done. Now, since then, the only issue that they never were able to resolve was when I do a cold start, there's a bit of a diesel fume smell under the hood that shouldn't be there. That may be the EGR cooler that's subject to the recall. I'm not sure. I haven't done that yet. I will eventually get around to doing that, but I kind of want to keep the one that I have now for as long as possible, because they do eventually fail. So the longer I can go with this one with a free replacement on tap, that means the longer I can go without actually having to pay for that job at some point in the future. And I'm keeping an eye on the coolant, because one of the symptoms of that going bad, well, they say it could give an exhaust smell in the engine compartment, but the other symptom of that going bad is also the coolant loss, because what happens is the coolant gets inside, it leaks inside the EGR cooler, which I believe is combined with the EGR. I think it's all one unit, and then it gets into the intake manifold, and that combined with the oily residue can create smoldering particles and eventually burn a hole in the intake manifold. So technically it's possible under the recall to get the intake manifold replaced as well. But so since probably a year and a half ago, I really haven't had any problems out of it. And I'm gonna say since then I've probably gone, I don't know, looking at my inspection sticker there, that was done 8/1 of 23, and we're now basically the beginning of April 24, and that one says like 35 and change, and I'm at 37 and change now. I'm gonna do another acceleration run to get on the highway here. Pay attention to make sure nobody's coming. This car has enough power to actually pretty much outrun anything, even on an uphill on-ramp on the highway. Go ahead and get over there. This car does have the blind spot. Oh wow, there's a bunch of trucks over there. I guess it's because it's Easter today. So the sunroof gets a little funky when you're driving by trucks. There's a little bit of buffeting that comes in the car. These guys are going really fast. There must not be any cops out right now. I'm going to pick it up a little bit to get around these guys. So it's actually, now that I'm past the trucks, it is a little noisy. You can hear the wind noise from the sunroof. But, yeah, it's not bad at all. So, so it's been extremely reliable. Just weird things like half the time it doesn't recognize the key. And I just hold it up to the panel. And then it starts. And it works sometimes it doesn't. I've put new key fob batteries in there. It's just some weird intermittent glitch going on. You'll notice there's a couple warning messages. It's complaining because I've passed the time for the oil change, but I'm not up to the miles yet. I'm gonna stick with a 10,000 mile oil change. The last time I changed it, the oil only had 8,000 miles on it, and it pretty much looked brand new. I did not send it to Blackstone to get it analyzed though, but I'm sure it was fine. So yeah, it'll probably be closer to 2 years for the oil change. I'm not one of the people that likes to do excessive oil changes. I do oil changes when they're needed, but not sooner. I had a Chevy Cruze diesel that I drove 206,000 miles from new, a lot of highway miles, and I would change the oil anywhere between 14 and 17,000 miles. And I did do Blackstone analysis, and at 14,000 the oil still had life left in it. At 17 it actually still had life left in it as well, but they basically said that that was probably about the limit. So that's first-hand experience with analysis and stuff like that. So the driving I do, I always drive long enough to warm it up. Usually I have some highway driving, but pretty much always it gets driven at least 20 minutes at a time. And so yeah, that's, I think the people that drive the cars like 5 minutes and then shut them off, I think they can tend to have more problems and need much more frequent oil changes. But I always warm the oil up enough thoroughly to let the acids boil off or whatever, let the water evaporate, the condensation. Yeah, so we're sitting at what, 37,860 right now, and I think I'm looking at probably 2,500 miles a year on this car. I think that's probably going to be where it ends up, and I'm just going to keep it as sort of a collectible. It's kind of funny to call a 5 Series a collectible, but with as rare as it is, I think that would be a valid call. And see, I don't even like driving it through a little bit of water like that. We get a lot of traffic coming here. I know I'm being paranoid, but I'm sure there's others of you out there like that cringe when they see a water puddle to drive through. I'm sure that's not going to hurt anything, but I can be really funny like that. On other cars, I don't care. Like on my GLK, I'm going to drive that thing in anything. But this car, with it being so nice underneath, and I just kind of want to preserve it like that. Let's see, we're going to turn here. I guess he's going straight because he doesn't have his turn signal on. This is going to take me back on that country road that I was on. I got to kind of watch the speed limit here, because right on the right up here is the police station, and there's always a bunch of cops there. I think actually technically it may be beyond that sign right there. The speed limit goes up to 40, but I always like to just crawl by the police station there. Let's see, what else can I say? I pay for traffic and map updates, which actually haven't been working lately. I've got to check out them. That I think I have to go online and request it or something like that, because it was supposed to, for a while it was giving me automatic map updates, so it hasn't been doing that lately. Got to look into that, but the traffic is still working. It's like $10 a month. I mean, you really shouldn't have to pay for traffic on a navigation unit, but it is what it is. And I think it's worth it for me, because it'll, do the whole rerouting thing if you run into traffic, and it's actually saved me a bunch of time a couple times on road trips. So I have noticed that there are allegedly 2 of these for sale in the entire country right now. One of them has been for sale for 3 years, so I don't know if that listing is actually accurate. Let's do another quick acceleration here. Love that sudden rush of torque. It's just fantastic. And then there's another one that's been for sale for several months. Again, I don't know if it's a real listing or whatever. Even after I bought mine, I kept checking the listings, and for a while there was several for sale popping up, and it was mostly speaking lease terminations coming back and then going on the market. So those have pretty much dried up now. And I think it's going to be exceedingly harder to find one of these for sale, especially one with a known history. Diesels are pretty fussy about how they're maintained and how they're driven and stuff like that. And you get people a lot of times that'll buy a diesel, and maybe this is an extreme on a car like this, but they'll take it to Walmart to get the oil changed, and they'll just assume that if they're using synthetic oil, it's fine. And no, it's not. The diesels all require very specific oil, but this car in particular requires a very special oil. I get the BMW, I think it's called LL12, I believe it's a 0W30, specifically formulated for this engine. I think like the 535D and the X535D and even the 328D and X328D, I think they all take a 5W30. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. I've not owned any of those. This is the one I wanted, the 540D specifically. It's a 1 year only model in the G30, the body style, the G30. So that's the 2017 to 2023 5 Series. So it's not that I don't like the 535D. I actually have a video on my channel of test driving one when they were brand new, and I loved it. Didn't buy it, but loved it anyway. But I had a 5 Series like this as a loaner car when I had my X3 and drove it for a few days, and really came to appreciate the G30 as a fantastic overall car. The way it feels, the way it drives. This car feels like it's carved out of a solid chunk of metal. I mean, it's really truly what you would hope and expect out of a German sedan like this. Let's punch it a little bit here. So yeah, this was the one I wanted, and I searched for like a couple years. I just missed out on one like a year before I bought this one, so about 3 years ago. Turns out it would have been a really good deal, and I bought this pretty much at the peak of the price madness, so I didn't pay a whole lot less than the sticker price for this thing. I mean, it was like 20% lower than the sticker price, give or take, maybe a little bit more. I mean, it did only have 20,000 miles on it at the time, and it was technically a little less than 3.5 years old. But still, for a 5 Series of that age, that is kind of insane. To put it into perspective, recently, a dealer that I deal with a lot had a 2018 530i with XDrive with full service history, and it was a high option car. It had pretty much everything. The sticker on that was actually higher than the sticker on this. It was like $70,000. He had it listed at 25 grand, just a hair over 25 grand. I mean, you talk about crazy depreciation. It was basically like brand new for like 1/3, just a hair over 1/3 in the original sticker price. And that happens with the 530i. And a lot of other BMWs. The 7 Series is a huge depreciator. So I think that's another thing with this car, is it's probably going to settle down at some point. I don't think it's ever going to go up in value. I mean, if this thing had like 6,000 miles on it and I waited 30 years to sell it, maybe. I am going to drive it. It will accumulate miles, but it will always be a low mile car for the year. You know, this is 2024, excuse me, and this car is a 2018. So that's what, 6 years, 37,000 miles. You do the math. I'm trying to do it in my head. It's like 6,000 miles a year. So, and you know, it's probably going to get driven less than that moving forward. So, I think that's all I have to say right now about this car. I tend to just ramble on and on and on. So for those of you who make it this far in my videos, thank you. I really appreciate you. There are people out there who appreciate my weirdness, and am very happy that y'all exist. Anyway, that is it for now, and y'all have a great day.